Hello all, BJ Weiler here with our seventh fantastical, highly anticipated awesome sauce for games. My schedule's been thrown off a little bit the last couple of weeks, as you may have noticed. Haven't been able to get much commentating done. Part of that reason is, before I dig into today's content topic, is Extra Life Gaming Marathon. That will be November 2nd, 2013. The last couple of weeks, besides real life duties and stuff, I've actually been prepping for the 25-hour gaming marathon. Now I have a promo on the YouTube channel that tells you a little bit about Extra Life and the goodness that it does. With that, I have links to my fundraising page, which gives you more information. So on November 2nd, 2013, I hope you will join me for the 25-hour gaming marathon, and more importantly, I hope you can make a donation. Your donation amounts can be anything: $1, $5, $10, $100. In fact, somebody on the team I'm on, Team Tryon, who has done Rift and Defiance, has donated $2,500. So that's good stuff. And all this money goes directly to the Children's Miracle network of hospitals. And I am personally fundraising for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So anything you can donate is greatly appreciated and goes directly to helping kids and their families get the care and help and stuff that they need to get better. So check out that promo, check out those links to learn more about it. The event's been going on for about, I think this is the 4th or 5th year. Now it actually got started around 2008, 2009, and it's raised almost $4 million at this point. That goes directly to helping kids. So you can't really get any better than that. So please check that out. Make a donation if you can, and definitely join us on November 2nd, 2013 for 25 hours of some gaming good times. I'll be bringing the coffee and the Red Bull. Hopefully I can make it. It's been a while since I've pulled an all-night gaming session, let alone 25 hours of it. So we've got a lot of good stuff planned. Hopefully you will enjoy it. But this week's episode number 7, Awesome Sauce for Games, is about LFG, LFR, that's looking for group, looking for a raid. And this is brought about because just about a month ago now, as I said, I'm a little bit behind the times here. Guild Wars 2, ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 instituted their looking for group, looking for raid tool. Now, what this does, this is LFG, LFR is one of those things that gamers sort of expect in the game nowadays. So when it doesn't launch with it, you get a group of people who are, well, what are you doing? You stink as developers, this and that. And all they're trying to do really is compare features and feature sets with a new game to a game that's took 8 to 10 years to really get that stuff implemented themselves. So unless you want that hot, highly new, anticipated game to be in development for 8 years and not be released for 8 to 10 years, well, then you can't really compare. You're doing apples to oranges there. But that out of the way, even with something as simple as this quality of life feature, it tends to cause a little bit of controversy, not as much as some of the other topics we've taken on the past few weeks. But there is a segment of players that do not like LFG, LFR tools. And their primary reason for this is because they feel it ruins the community of the game or the community of the server that they're on. And again, for other players, it's simply a quality of life feature that allows them to find a group easily, quickly, and with not a lot of effort or time wasted spamming a chat channel in game trying to get people together. So for some people it's quality of life, for other people it ruins community. Yeah, no, it doesn't really ruin community because the MMO community has changed, has evolved in the last 10 to 15 years. And looking for group, looking for raid really hasn't had that much to do with that. back in the olden days, like I said, you had to go into general chat, you had to spam, you had to talk to people. So sometimes that could be a lot of downtime before you finally found the people you needed to complete a lot of content. An LFG LFR tool does that for you automatically. You go into UI, you check off some boxes, based on your profession, based on the content you want to do, and you go enter the queue. And the system, when the system detects that there are enough players that meet the qualifications for that content, it puts you in a group and off you go. And in that meantime, in that waiting period, you can actually be doing something else besides typing on your keyboard trying to get people together. Some people enjoy that, which is fine. I mean, some people enjoy talking and just standing around doing that in the game. I've done that enough with the original Guild Wars, which did not have an LFG tool. You basically, it had a system where you can actually put yourself in a list in the UI and state that you're looking for a group. But generally, it was just like the olden days where you're just spamming general chat. I did that sometimes. It was fine. But again, if I'm hopping into the game, there's a particular piece of content that I want to do and I don't have a lot of time, then this is where the LFG LFR tool comes in handy, to where I can just pop into the queue and, just like I'm doing if I'm spamming general chat, or if I'm doing the LFG tool, I still have to hope that there's enough people who want to do that content, so that, that kind of time frame doesn't make a difference. But it saves me the time of having to manually do it and basically have a lot of downtime, a lot of waiting time trying to get these people in. With the LFG tool, I can actually be doing something else. I can be doing inventory management. I can maybe do exploring some solo content, or doing something else. I can actually be doing something besides standing around and typing on a keyboard trying to get people if I don't have a lot of time. So it's a quality of life improvement. But again, like I said, a lot of people think that it ruins server community. The problem is, excuse me, like I said earlier, communities have changed. It's not like the old days where we only had, a handful of games, if that people played in the MMO universe. Now we've got dozens upon dozens upon dozens of games that people are playing and trying out. So just like, the Old West, where you had that one frontier town and no other towns for hundreds of miles, that's the way the old games were. You had your set community in that town. Generally, everybody knew everybody. Everybody worked together to keep the town, healthy, keep the town safe, that kind of stuff. And that was MMO gaming in the old days. Looking for group, looking for raid, did very little to nothing to change that. What changed was the fact that, we've got more population. That little town's population began to expand. More people for the country expanded. So now instead of just that one solo town out in the middle of nowhere, you got 10 towns around it. Now you've got one bigger community. So that's the MMOs are just a microcosm of that societal change. Now, you still might know people in your own small segment of that larger community, but generally speaking, you're not going to know anybody else. You're not really going to care about anybody else, because you're only concerned about with your small community, with the friends that you know in that small community. And with MMO gaming, it's the same way. Back in the old days, that whole server was your friends list. The whole server was your guild list, sort of hyperbole speaking wise. Nowadays you can't even do that, because there's just so many games. So you have your MMO player population spread around so many games. A lot of people are hopping game to game trying to find one that they really like. So you've got guilds and friends lists that are going from game to game. They're not really staying in one community long enough to really make a difference. And within each of those communities, you've got a larger player base, because the MMO player base has expanded as the genre has become more popular. So again, just like the small town grew into a large town, grew into a large city, community, region, the MMO is the same way. You simply can't have a large community like that. You can't be community feeling in a large environment like that. You have to pick and choose who your community is going to be at that point. And the same thing with the MMOs now. You have your friends list, you have your guilds list. Those are generally the people who you feel are part of your community now in games instead of your whole server. They're the ones you're going to go to first if you need to group or you need help with a particular piece of content. Now, what the LFG LFR tool does is make it easier to find pickup groups, i.e., pugs, commonly called pugs, in case you don't have enough friends who can or want to do that particular piece of content. Same thing with the guild. I'm on at all odd hours in all my games. I'm a member of some small guilds. I'm a member of some very large guilds. And even in those very large guilds, there are times where I'm on where nobody's on because I'm on at a really wacky hour. So this is where looking for group, looking for raid tool comes in handy to me, because if I want to pop on and spend a couple hours doing a particular piece of content, I don't want to spend those couple of hours typing in general chat trying to find people. I just want to pop in while I'm waiting and say, okay, now I can, clear out some inventory. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can go out and farm a mob to get a better weapon or something like that while I'm waiting for this queue to pop. Whereas if I have to spam general chat, if I have to try to entice people to join my group to this content, I can't do that. It's downtime for me. It's not getting something accomplished for me. So this is to say that LFG LFR ruins community. It doesn't, because the community itself has changed to where your community is your friends list. It's your guild list. Looking for group, looking for raid really doesn't affect the server community anymore. Because a lot of people say, well, you're not talking to anybody. LFG tool, it's just throwing people together. Generally, people don't talk to each other via these tools. Well, I've played in pugs and pickup games where it didn't have an LFG tool. We spammed general chat looking for this. People joined up. We still didn't talk into the group anyway. So looking for group doesn't do that. I mean, if you want to be a chatty Cathy, that's fine. I don't care. If we got time, we're not in the middle of the battle, I'll chatty Cathy with you back. If people want to just rush through and not worry about being chatty Cathys, that's fine with me too. That has no impact on the community. It's a wham bam, thank you ma'am, see you later. That's fine. Again, the community we have now are our friends list. It's our guilds list. LFG, LFR does not ruin that. It can't ruin that because, as I keep saying, the communities have changed. You can't possibly have a large game with a large, and still have a feeling of community without having friends or guilds. It's just not possible to have that anymore. And so it's not LFG that's really ruining the community of the server. It's actually the gamers themselves. I mean, the gamers themselves have to be the chatty Cathys if you want to, have a feeling of community or whatever. But aside from that, over the past several years, is like I said, MMOs have evolved. Part of that involvement has been gamers desiring to have larger games, larger communities. They want to have a ton of people. They don't want the small little frontier town. They want the big New York City town, 7 million people, 8 million people. That's what they want to see in the game, because then to them that's how they feel the game is successful. That's how they feel the game is popular, by having these thousands upon millions of players in the game. That's what ruins community. That's what has made community change. Not LFG, not LFR, but the fact that gamers want to see a ton of people in their game. And just like the frontier town as opposed to New York City, those 8 million people in New York City, they may have a sense of self-worth, a sense of community in the fact that they're all proud of their city. They'll look out for each other. But those 8 million people don't know each other like the 200 people in a small frontier town may know each other. There's different, you can still have your community pride, you can still have your town pride, but, knowing each other, how much invested are you with 200 people versus 8 million people? You're a little bit more invested with the 200 people. You're going to be more invested, you're going to have a tighter knit community, is probably a good word for it, with the smaller amount of people. But you can't have a tighter knit community with 8 million people. Now you can have a tight-knit community within that 8 million people. Again, there's your friends list, there's your guilds list. So you can still have that tight-knit community. You can still feel proud of your city. But when push comes to shove, if you got 8 million people surrounding you, you're not going to know 8 million people. You're really not going to care about most of those 8 million people. You're only going to care about the small, tight-knit microcosm of the people that you know and hang out with. So looking for group really doesn't have any effect on that. Doesn't do anything to harm that. It's the fact that you can't really have a sense of community with these larger games that gamers themselves are demanding. It's just not possible. Because again, like I said, MMOs are the microcosm of societal differences. You go out to society, look how the small towns are compared to the large towns. You see your similarities, you see your differences, but in the end, looking for group, looking for raid does not do anything to affect the community nowadays, because the communities are just so large. You're more concerned with your own microcosm, that community. But you can still feel that sense of pride. You can still feel that sense of pride with your server, with your game. You're just not going to be caring about, all the people that are playing on your server or your game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Time is short. You can't really, do it all, so to speak. But again, it's one of those things, just like free-to-play versus subscription, just like pay-to-win, people have their own opinions on, and those opinions aren't necessarily based in fact anymore. It's nothing that, oh well, what are you going to do? But that's it for this episode. What do you think? Are you for looking for group? Are you for looking for raid? Are you for whatever you want to call it? Are you in favor of having this in the game? Or are you like that other group where no matter what, you still think it ruins community? Leave us a comment below and tell us why. And until next time, remember, November 2nd, 2013 is our gaming marathon. Hopefully we'll see you there. But until next time, I will see you in game.